Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Today I'm here with Aubrey Harley, a L'Oreal educator, and we are here to talk about all things education in the beauty industry. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. What an honor.
Yes, thank you. We usually don't get to record in person, so I'm thankful you were just in town. You're literally coming like right off the heels of a class at Salon Centric today.
Yes.
So how was that?
The class was amazing. It was lots of energy. We had the salon professionals there. We even had some cosmetology students. It was a mix. So we talked about our blonde studio portfolio and really to help the industry to understand the importance of lighteners and why we select the different ones that we do for different hair types. And great questions, great information, and it was a lot of engagement. So it was good times. Great times, yes.
I know the space of education has changed in the beauty industry, and I think we're all still figuring out what works, what do we need to do. I know a lot of people are going online. A lot of people, we're in this time that I think we're gonna like look back and talk about, because just as soon as we think we have it figured out, it changes again. You weren't even expecting as many people in the in-person class that showed up. So where we went into a space of like, oh, we think we're gonna have like even more people are coming in person, which I think just shows that need and that want for in-person education. How are you feeling about that right now?
I feel great that more salon professionals now are coming in for live classes. The reason why social media is a great tool for education to get that jump or that spark. But however, what if you have those questions? Even though you can go in the comments and ask questions, what if you need those answers right away, instantly? And then the next thing is that with live, you get the answers instantly. And I always say this, social media cannot teach your hands. When you're in a live classes can teach your hands. It can make those small adjustments, those adaptations that actually resonates with the brain. So when you connect to anchor the information, now you own it versus guessing.
Yeah, I think that's so important because this industry is so hands-on. And I know I'm the person that's like, we're still at the school. I mean, we're hands-on, you know, and I just believe that, especially for beauty school students, it's the best way to learn. But I like your sentiment on the fact that you can teach your hands. So it's going to be more efficient to be in person because you can watch something and be like, oh, wow, I learned this new thing. But if you're going to have to correct it, you're going to spend time, you know, fixing how your hands are or placement, whatever, that you could just get taken care of with somebody in class that knows how to explain that. I love that. I think that that's so important.
Thank you. Yes, I would say so too. And the next thing versus by yourself, now you have a community of salon professionals and beauty pros that are there. And with the energy that's bouncing around, you can watch someone else that may be kind of doing it a different way. So, oh, I kind of like the way they're doing it. Then you can look in another direction. Someone else has a different meaning. And then when the question starts to get asked, that way it takes the mind and you start thinking about whatever that subject that's being taught. You're thinking about it in different ways versus just one way. Now you have many ways. So that means the options that you have are endless.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I'm so thankful that you're doing these in-person classes. I think they're so important. And you telling me that even more people showed up than expected just makes me so happy because, again, I'm just the one that's like, I know that online is a great tool, but I just don't want to get away from the hands-on. So I'm thankful that we're able to share that. Now, I want to rewind a little bit back to when you first got into the beauty industry. So tell me, what was the life of Aubrey at the time that you came into the beauty industry?
Well, it's a long story, but we're going to shorten it just a little bit. My first journey to college was in nursing school. My dad picked this career for me to think that, hey, I'm gonna have my son, he's going to be an RN. That way, when I get older, I'll have, someone to take care of me. And guess what? It'll be cost effective, right? But
you're talking, man.
Right, smart, very smart. Yeah, calculated the steps, right, and for the future. However, that plan didn't work out. You're talking 18 years old. It was just kind of like, oh, I just wasn't getting that college feel, like the homecomings. Let's just face it, the socialization, of really being like in college. This was like medical school, so it's kind of like, oh, I'm not really feeling this. So we just kind of redirected our career path. and I ended up finding cosmetology. And how I found this was through another friend that was actually going to go to cosmetology school. And we ended up meeting together at a barber shop. We were in high school together. We hadn't seen each other since high school, so we showed up at the same barber shop together. And we just was catching up, and we're going to go out and grab a bite to eat, have some lunch. And he said, well, just before we do, I have to go to cosmetology school to sign some papers. Now, this is funny. We're 18. He has his car. It's no air conditioning in the car. It's July.
And you're in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, and I'm in Virginia at this point.
Okay.
And I had my nice clothes on because I was going to go out and kind of put in some applications and all. And I didn't want to be sweating in my clothes. So I decided to say, hey, well, let me just go inside this building and kind of get a little bit of air conditioner because I don't want to be sweating in the car. He had no AC, right?
Yeah.
So when I walked into the cosmetology school, it's Flair Beauty Institute. And I said to myself, wow, the energy was contagious. And I wanted to go here. So I said, this is amazing. So I didn't know the director was standing right there. He heard me and says, hey, why don't you come just try us out for give us like about 2 weeks, see if you like it. If you don't owe us anything. But if you do, hey, we can get the paperwork going and get you going. And I said, hey, no need for the 2 weeks. I said, I'm in. This is beautiful. The energy, the music, the people, it was a certain groove. So signed up for cosmetology school, went in, took the rearview mirror down. It was a no looking back. What really engaged me was my very first hair show. And when I went to this hair show at Crystal City, this was a Cosmoprof show. And what inspired me was just how the salon professionals were really living and just the dressing, the attitude, the professionalism. And I was head over heels. I was definitely in. So that was how my career pretty much got started. And I haven't looked back since. I mean, the best decision I ever could have made. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it. I always would like to share with everyone, being a salon professional is like being a rock star without a guitar. You're a rock star with shears, blow dryers, and a color application brush. So that's how exactly how it is,
Yes.
Because people love you. You think about it. What other career do you know where someone's going to stand up and tell you how great you are and turn around and give you monetary value and then tell everyone in their community how great you are?
Yeah.
Can't beat it, right?
It's so
It's a
true.
win-win situation.
Yes. No, it's so true. And now, where was your first salon job? Like, were you in Virginia? Did you stay right after school into like a commission salon?
So went into commission. So the first salon that I worked in, it was a salon called Cosmopolitan. And it was this beauty professional superstar. Her name was Beatrice Crutcher. She was like the end-all be-all. I mean, she just had the whole town just wrapped. And anyone just couldn't get into her salon. And I think what actually attracted her to me, we had this huge competition at our cosmetology school, and I ended up winning first place in the competition. And Miss B, that's what they call her, she was one of the judges. And she said, hey, you're going to come work for me. And I'm like, oh, gosh, really? You're just kind of like, no, I'm not ready yet. Let me take a few steps. And lo and behold, that ended up happening and learned so much. And the best thing that I learned was, one, how to give a guest an experience versus a service. So that was great, to make yourself unforgettable versus being remembered.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I do want to point out that I think that sometimes people can go into cosmetology school with the idea that, okay, I'm just here to get my hours. I'm just here to pass a board. But those relationships matter. I was just telling you that we're having our career fair here tomorrow. And those people that you meet, it's so important to take those opportunities. If you would have showed up that day and just been like, I'm not going to really try in this competition. I'm not really feeling it today. No, you have to show up and take the opportunities that are provided for you, because that literally was your foot in the door. And had you not gone there, we hear these stories all the time where people will maybe end up in places that is not the best, and then they leave the industry altogether. So you ended up in good hands because of that contest in beauty school,
Yes, great hands, yes.
And I think you and I know, as like being not 18 years old anymore, is like you are able to, at this point in your life, look back and say, this led me to this, to this, to this.
Yes.
And it is just showing up, and it's showing up and participating and being your best every
Yes.
single day. It's best, like the best that you can give every single day, because that's how this industry works. Is
Yes.
just like that networking and taking those opportunities. So I'm really happy that you brought that up.
Well, thank you so much. And you know the old saying, we miss 100% of the shots that we never take. So I had to take that shot, right?
Yes. Now you're with L'Oreal Professional now. So I
Yes.
met you as an educator with L'Oreal Professionnel. I love how you say that on your videos. It's so cute. So, but on top of that, I want to talk about how you got into this position and how you knew when you were ready to move on from being behind the chair. So
Yes.
talk to me a little bit about how that happened and what that path looked like.
Well, it was strange how this happened. It's just like these unforeseen occurrences that happen. So I was with another brand, and we were doing platform work at another big, huge hair show. And someone, another educator that used to work with us, she was with another brand as well that was connected with the PPD brand, L'Oreal Professional, right? So after the show, it's this thing that we always do. It's a place that we go to after the show. It's called the Midnight Diner. The Midnight Diner is this trending type of restaurant that everyone comes to after the show. So, you know, you have these different brands here, and it's like teams. So when everyone shows up with their all black on, everyone's looking at each other like, yeah, we do best, you know. And then finally someone just says, hey, you know what? Do we just want to pull some tables together and just get together and just sit down and just eat? And so everyone just came together. So every
Wait, I
brand you
love
could think of,
that.
yeah, we just all came together. It wasn't like, oh, our brand is better. Oh, look at that particular brand there. Who do they think they are? You know, so you know how it can be just a little catty.
Yes,
So we all
definitely.
came together and we just sitting there eating and we was having a great time. And one of the educators mentioned, says, hey, L'Oreal Professionnel is looking for a color educator, and I think you'll be fantastic. And I was pretty much happy where I was. I said, wait a minute, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to throw me under the bus? You know? But I was curious at the same time.
Yeah.
So afterwards, you know, the dinner was over. I ended up walking to her car. She ended up, I said, hey, what's going on with this L'Oreal Professional thing? I mean, you didn't have to say it all in front of everybody. You know what I mean? But geez. So I said, but I'm pretty much good where I am. But anyway, she was telling me all about the brand, how great it was. And she said these exact words. She says, you've been with this brand for this amount of time. You can stay in that parking space and pretty much just go out there that way, or you can back your car up, get on the highway, and see the world. And then she just got in her car and just left. And so that just starts spinning that thought in my head.
Wow.
So the next thing, I ended up calling her. I don't know what, just something. You know how sometimes something just moves you without you thinking. It's like, I don't know what's moved me. Why am I doing this? I
Yeah.
started feeling a little disloyal. You know what I mean? So anyway, I gave her a call, and so she connected me to one of the higher ups in L'Oreal Professional. Her name is Rachel Flowers. So we had this great conversation on the telephone. I mean, she says, gosh, this conversation was only supposed to be for 10 minutes and we talked for 45 minutes. She says, I want to fly you out to Austin, Texas. I want to see your hands and see how you present. So I went out to Austin, Texas. I said, gosh, oh my gosh, I just feel like this is some type of infidelity because I'm brand loyal, okay?
Yes.
So, but I don't know, something just was moving me.
Yeah.
Just kept, I said, why am I doing this? And I just couldn't think about it. So anyway, went to Austin, Texas, went out there, met up with who I need to meet up with, and I started presenting for L'Oreal Professional. They loved what they saw. They hired me on the spot, and I just said to myself, okay, what's happening now? What am I going to do? How am I going to go back and tell the other brand that everything was just perfectly fine with, that, hey, I want to redirect my path and kind of move on? And believe me, it was tough because, you know, when you're with a brand for like 2 decades and you've built these relationships and these ties, and just to go in and kind of disconnect, it wasn't easy. So when I went back to share what I wanted to do and I finally had the courage to do so, um, I was laughed at. It was like, you're not going anywhere. Are you serious? And I'm like, no, serious. I'm going somewhere. It's like, where you going? I don't want to say where I'm going, but I need to leave. And about 15 minutes went past, and all of a sudden I was being taken serious. And next thing you know, the tears started flowing. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I just felt
Yeah.
like the worst thing,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what's happening? It's like this perfect relationship, and all of a sudden somebody just wants to leave.
Yeah.
And so now when you, not to use this, but now when someone is in a perfect relationship and they just need to leave, it's an understanding there. So I always look at it like
Right.
an atom, right? So you have your protons, you have your electrons, and you have your neutrons. Protons is always going to sit still, neutrons sit still, right? And here's where I'm going with this. The electrons is that part of an atom that just constantly moves around. And if it wants to leave that atom and say, hey, I want to go play over here, it could leave and go play over there, but it causes a chemical imbalance to
Right.
the atom that it left and to the atom that it's going to, because too many electrons, too less electrons, right? So I felt like this electron, I need to leave and I need to go over here to the
Yeah.
other atom, which was L'Oreal Professionnel.
Yeah.
So we end up leaving, and it happened. One of the best decisions I made, because one thing I learned when it comes to growth, it's always going to be a little bit of pain in the situation.
Yeah.
It's not going to be simple or that easy.
Yeah.
And believe me, Bobbi, when I did leave, the first 2 weeks, I was calling, hey, after I had left my original position and moved into the new position, here's what's funny. I was asking a question. I said, hey, so classes, am I booked yet? Is there any classes? What do I need to go teach? Because I'm used to every day, like teaching. And for almost like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I wasn't teaching. And I just kept getting this feedback, learn your computer. And I said, oh my gosh, I just took 2 decades and throw it away to learn a computer. I said, something's not right. So then I started to get nervous.
Yeah.
And then at this point, I was like, should I just call back and say, I don't know what I was thinking about. I think someone slipped something in my drink and I just wasn't thinking right for the past couple of days. You know what I mean? And just like, hey, I don't know what's happened, but hey, will you take me back, please? Take me back.
Right.
So the next thing before I could do that, the doorbell rung, and so I went open the door, and there was a guy standing there, and he had a car dealership uniform on. He says, "You Aubrey Harley?" I said, "Yeah, it's me. I need you to sign right here. Sign for what? Your car." And I thought I was being pranked, so I said, "You must have the wrong person. I didn't buy a car." "No, you didn't buy a car. This is coming from your brand." When he said L'Oreal Professional, I said, "It's got to be a joke." I said, "A car." So I walked outside. I looked. There was a car. And he says, I need you to sign. I have to go.
He's like really trying to do
Yeah,
my
I'm trying
job
to do my
here.
job, trying to go. And so I just, out of nervousness, I signed. Here's your keys. I said, you serious? And I said, this is a joke. So the car's out there. Next thing I know, about an hour later, the phone rings. Oh, hey, just checking on you. Did you get your car? I said, you sent the car? He's like, yeah, we sent your car.
Wow.
So we had a company vehicle to drive in, right? So then there's the next big thing. So the next thing we're going to need you to schedule, you're going to be in New York for like about 8 days in New York. So you're going to come in and you're going to do your onboarding in New York. So I'm thinking to myself, New York. I said, okay, all right, we're going to need you to stay at this hotel. So I go in, get ready to book the hotel. I had the company card, and the hotel was like $600 a night. Here's where I'm going with this. I called back. I said, hey, this hotel is like a little over $600 a night. I found a hotel maybe just a little less expensive. I could actually go into that one. You will stay where we tell you to stay. I said, oh, okay. Noted. So ended up going to the hotel. So I ended up booking the hotel, the flight. And here is the big part where everyone wants to know, right? Here's the kicker. So I get to New York City and I put in my GPS, L'Oreal Professional. And so all of a sudden it says arrive. So I'm right there, L'Oreal Professional. So I'm looking around and I said, gosh, like, where is it? It says arrive. So I'm thinking if you look at a building like right where you are, just kind of like almost like eye level. I'm looking around. Just give you a prime example. If you look at a salon centric, you're kind of looking for something like that with L'Oreal Professional. And so finally I stopped and asked someone, I said, do you know, ever heard of this brand, L'Oreal Professional? And they was like, yeah. I said, it says I'm right here, but where is it? And luckily, you're a little bit afraid to ask certain New Yorkers because they're busy. You need to know where you're going before you leave the house. That's just the way it is. So, right, that's the climate. So they said, well, you're staying, you're right here, you're at it. I said, really? I'm looking around, and he does this number. And I look up, and I said, Yeah, he says, yes, the whole entire skyscraper. And I looked all the way up, and you couldn't even see the point because it's so high in the clouds. I said, oh, that's it. I said, oh, so I go in, get inside the building, get on the escalator, start going all the way up. And just like you're looking at these little rocks on the floor, that's how the people were looking because I was going all the way up. And I saw this big, huge gold sign that said L'Oreal Professional. I said, oh my gosh. I said, I have arrived. I was getting all happy and everything. I was like, oh, I'm not happy, right? So then I get up to the desk and give them my name, and they have my little badge, said 31st
Yes.
floor. You ever seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada? You ever seen the beginning when Anne Hathaway, the elevators open up and all of that's like motion?
Yes.
That's exactly how it was.
Exactly what it
I
is.
get up,
Yeah.
and it was Hudson Yards. I get up onto that 31st floor and get off the elevator. Everyone's moving, all the different languages, laptops. I mean, it was just insane.
You're
And
making me want to go back there so
you
bad. Like
have
I'm
to.
like now, okay, we got to book.
You
Like
have to. You
so
have. It's
good.
so beautiful. And then I never seen New York in that type of view. It was a big, huge like fishbowl. And I'm looking out and I said, gosh, I can see the whole entire New York City. It was breathtaking. And then you walk back to the backside and you see the whole entire New Jersey. I'm like, what is happening right now? What is causing all of this, And so next thing you know, I just want to go in and just call my mother and my father and say, hey, I arrived. Let's go house shopping.
Yes,
You know
you're
what
like,
I mean?
I made it. But
I made it,
here's
yes.
the thing.
That was the deal.
Having that moment, there's a couple of things that are like standing out for me in this story. Is like that as a hairdresser, this is what you were able to do, right? Like
Yes.
that as somebody who was in a salon and working your way up to be able to be in that environment that is exactly like Devil Wears Prada. Like you're in that moment of like,
Yes.
I could never be there. That's what I've seen on TVs. Or maybe big fancy lawyers in New York City live like
Yes.
this. I've seen Suits. Maybe it's like that,
Yes.
But no, it's you with your cosmetology license
Yes.
being there. And yes, it took time. It wasn't an overnight thing. And that's, I think, an important message also is that it takes time, but you can be in those rooms. And I think there's something so validating about that.
Yes.
And something of like, here's something too, I think that's really special. For you to end up in beauty school the way that you did, right?
Yes.
That you were like, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to give it the 2 weeks and I'm just going to see. And then being like, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to do this next right thing. I'm supposed to, it's time for a change, as hard as that's going to be. It would have been easier for you to just stay with the other brand, right? Like we can all say that like sometimes complacency in life is the easier option. Might not lead to the happiest option or whatever, but it is the easiest option. But you make that change, and then all of a sudden, it's this door opens, and quite literally, the elevator door opens to Hudson Yards. And look at like where you were able to be, all because of that day that you went into beauty school.
And the thing about it, from college, your parents, I felt a little bad because they made this big, huge investment and I didn't complete the assignment. So it was like, hey, and I'm still at home, 18. Hey, you are going to either have to get a job. You're not just going to sit in here and we're working and you're not. So, and just to go on and say, okay, I need to go out and find a job. And whoever would have thought that moment would have just started spinning everything that just had happened. So one thing that I try to tell anyone that's kind of looking for their career path or trying to find, okay, that right avenue to plug into, to walk through, one, you just never know how it's going to happen or what's going to happen. I just have to say it was fate.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we find what we like and what speaks to us, and we start to invest that time, the energy, and get educated. And I really found that passion because the great thing about the beauty industry is that you can look nice, you can feel good about yourself. And the great thing about it, you have this ability to make others feel great about themselves. And that is a very powerful tool.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. It's definitely a gift. And it all comes with education. That's the biggest thing I'll say, just education. One of the biggest things I want to also share was a triumphant moment that happened at Hudson Yards. We had the VP of L'Oreal Professional, and we also had the Senior Vice President of Training and the AVP of Training. So, and a few others were in this room. And the last day of our onboarding, we had to present in front of all the higher ups. And I am like just nervous. I'm a wreck. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So you had to present. So I went back instead of going out into New York City because you know it's tempting. The shopping, the food, the sightseeing. I just went to my hotel room and I studied, and I just prayed, please let me don't forget none of this information. And then that next morning when I walked to Hudson Yards, I had this talk with myself, said, Aubrey, two things gonna happen. Either you're gonna go all the way up to that 31st floor and we're gonna have a victory, or either you're gonna come all the way back down and it's gonna be one in the L column. So take your choice. And then I'm thinking, what are you gonna tell everybody? What are you gonna tell your family? Hey, what are you gonna do on social media now, right? So put the
Right.
pressure on. So
Yeah.
went there, the time for me to do my presentation, my voice cracked a little bit, and something says, settle in, the voice already cracked, the words has happened, start talking, you know your information. Always remember why they need it, what it is, and how to use it. So I explained that, went through my PK, and the VP came in and says, Aubrey, that was a fantastic presentation. You're going to serve us well. I said, oh my gosh, I'm on the team. I made the team. I was like, oh. So I was so happy. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And went downstairs. I was just all happy, like, oh my gosh, I made the team. And I just started walking all through New York City. And I was like, what is this deal? What is he on? But I was so happy.
Yeah.
And from that whole point, the learning has just been nonstop. And what I love about it, just when you learn 2 or 3 things, here are 7 or 8 more things coming right behind. So it's like a
Yeah.
never-ending journey. So that's the great thing I love about it. So much information,
Yeah.
so much to learn. And then the great thing is that you get to share this information with other salon professionals to inspire them. So
Mhm.
just being that vehicle that's just bringing education, it's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you even went on to get your bachelor's degree in the beauty
Yes.
industry
Oh my
through
gosh.
LEAD. So not only did the learning
Yes.
keep going just at,
Oh.
daily as you're teaching,
Yes.
but you got to go to the LEAD program at Arizona State University.
Yes.
So you were in the first
Yes.
class.
So let's speed up to that chapter.
Yes.
So L'Oreal Professionnel had sent me to college to get a bachelor's degree in health innovation, entrepreneurship, beauty, and wellness. And this is a new program that's being rolled out into universities now. And what was so great about it, one, I had a chance to redeem myself. So my parents, I can say now, I have a legit bachelor's degree from Arizona State University. Forks up. Yes. So I have that. Little forks up. That's our little sign that we all do.
Yes.
So I have that. And that was all through the LEAD program. And the great thing about interviewing with Francis, I didn't think I was going to get selected. It was like maybe over 100 or plus applications, and they were only going to select so many to be interviewed. So I was lucky. I was like, oh my gosh, I said I got selected for an interview. So I know Francis Tessmer was one of the interviewers, Matt Howell. We even had the president, David Greenberg, that was there. I said, oh, it's going to be good. Maybe they may see me and say, hey, well, you don't fit the college, but maybe let's take him and move him over here. I like him. So I didn't think it was happening.
You're like, I'm just whatever you need.
Yeah, whatever you
Like, I'm
need,
here for anything.
I'm in all the decision makers are right here in one setting. So I'm thinking, hey, even if I don't get to college, that's what my mind was. Hey, let's take him and move him over here. I like him over here.
That cracks me up
Yes.
that you were like, I'm just happy to be in this room.
Be in this
So
room.
maybe not the scholarship, but if there's an open office, I'll fill that.
I will feel that. That's exactly how I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Because I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, awareness. They get to see me one-on-one. Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And I never have challenges as far as when it comes to interviewing, because just having that being well practiced and educated when it comes to interviewing. So went through the interview process. I felt good about all my answers. And I'm thinking, oh, is that it? Like, okay, y'all gonna move me somewhere? Then I'm waiting for the phone call and all. And so it never happened. And then one day I was finishing up a class. I was in the car, the phone rings. All of a sudden it's HR. So you know what happens. Let's be transparent. You know, when you get a call from HR, you're thinking like, okay, what did I do? Did I miss a class? Or did something happen? Like, what's going on? So HR is calling, right? So then, so I call back. And so I said, hey, Aubrey here. I said, oh, hey, Aubrey, how's it going? So you know how they do the sandwich technique. How's everything going? How things out with education? How's your position? I was like, yeah, good, good. Let's just go ahead and get to the
Yeah.
bread, get to the fluff. So when they hit the I said, okay, here we go. Am I the last to hire? Are they doing a freeze? Am I getting cut? What's going on? So we just want to let you know, don't share this with anyone, but you've been one of the 10 selected that we're going to scholarship to go to Arizona State University for the cohort program. And you're right. And you said, wow.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting in the car, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm still shocked. I'm thinking something else is going to happen. Like, where's the bad stuff? Like, what's going on? Is it a freeze? You need to cut back? What's going on? Right. So I'm like, so you excited? I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, right? And after I get off the phone, it's like, oh yeah, don't share anything. We're gonna make a big, huge announcement. They're gonna make an announcement. So I said, fine. So hang up the phone, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh, what just happened? And it's like, oh, you're going to college. I said, cool, cool, I'm going to college. So shared that with my parents, everything about college. It's like L'Oreal Professional is scholarshiping me to go to college, Arizona State. Hey, Division I, and not only Arizona State, but Arizona State is the #1 school in the country for innovation.
Wow.
Yes, #1 for innovation.
That's amazing.
So yes, and I was super excited, but let me tell you, it was a journey. That 4 years, woo, it was a journey to travel, to be on the road, to educate. We're talking anywhere from 3 to 4 presentations a day. And then to come home or either to your hotel room, we're not going to say home, your hotel room, and have to do homework. We're not just talking like easy homework, just read something or read like a parable or anything or do some like word problems. No, we're talking some homework. We're talking like reading things that look thick as ledgers, but
Wow.
great information though.
Yeah.
Incredible information. Information on leadership, innovation, cultural diversity. I mean, the list just goes on and on. We're talking about finance, even how to understand about how stocks, bonds, and CDs works. Just so much. I was like, wow. And then the biggest thing, we even had an art class, understanding art history. So now when I look at art, now I can see a vanishing point. That's where the artists start. And check this out, the vocabulary. Orthogonals. Those are those invisible lines where the artist actually starts out. So now when I'm looking at art at a museum or a picture in a restaurant,
Yeah.
I can just look at that picture and I can just break it down due to the education. So it was so much that we learned that it added so much value and diversity to our toolbox.
Yeah.
It just made you so much more well-rounded. So once, and I couldn't do it without the team. So I have to say, Sean Stroop, we talk about Jamie Noonan, that's my crew, Sherry Lynn Smart, and Erica, all of us and a host of others. We all had to bind together and we became this collective group. And all 10 of us, it was a bunch of us. And for the ones I didn't name, I don't want to like mess anything up, you know what I mean? But you know who you are. So, and it was just great because we all just took care of each other.
Yeah.
And the things that we learned from Lead, one of the greatest good books that we read was like Making My Bed. When you get out of bed in the morning, what's the first thing you do? What have you accomplished? And making your bed, I didn't realize was such a huge accomplishment because
Yeah.
the first thing that you do in the morning is like you putting forth something versus just, getting dressed, taking a shower, fixing some breakfast, drinking a cup of coffee. It's like making your bed is something you completed. But it's so much more that goes into that. It talks about unity and just like with your cohort and just those learns that you could take and apply that to life was really huge.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was walking across that stage at Arizona State University. Oh my gosh. Cap, gown, calling your name, walking across, and you saw all of those doctors with the PhDs, professors, and you walking across the stage, and they'll look at it and you just kind of like waving. My mom says, "Why are you waving?" I don't know. They were looking at me. I just waved. You know what I mean?
I love that. You're like, because I'm here. Here I am.
Hey, how y'all doing? So just being able to have that accomplishment is huge. And it's funny that we're talking about this. Do you know, like, today is the 1 year anniversary from graduation 2024?
No
Yes.
way! Oh
Yes.
my gosh!
They were
That's
graduating. Absolutely.
amazing.
Yes, it
That's
was.
incredible. And I think like being able to accomplish something like that and still having these goals and these like things that you're
Yes.
doing, like
Yes.
not slowing down. And I think that that's so important to know that like, because
Yes.
people talk about longevity in this
Yes.
career, and that you can't be behind the chair forever and all of those things. But like, look at all the different things that you can do to
Yes.
keep this career
Oh
growing.
my gosh. Just so many avenues to explore.
Mhm.
And the thing that I love about L'Oreal Professional is how it elevates the salon professional. The
Mhm.
great thing that I notice about L'Oreal Professional in our climate, we would never address anyone as, oh, hairdresser, hairstylist. We always would address them as a salon professional, salon pro, or beauty pro. We never use the terminology, hey, behind the chair or the chair. We have this fancy, like, French word because, we're Paris, France born.
Mm.
We like to call it the atelier. So the atelier is a fancy word for like work area. So atelier. So atelier, we know from the South. So
Yeah.
atelier. So that's the great thing. I like how they use that verbiage and dialogue to elevate the
Yeah.
craft because when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change.
Mhm.
So it just adds more value to the brand. And I would say to any parent or anyone that's listening or watching, the one thing about the beauty industry most don't understand is
Mhm.
that one, we have to learn chemistry. Why? Because we mix in color. So we have to
Mhm.
understand the mixing color. Number two, we're learning geometry because we're using section angle accuracy, elevation, three principles of dimension when it comes to hair cutting. And then on top of that, we're exercising business principles. So we understand how to place value on our techniques and the skill set and the experiences that we give guests. And then last but not least, if you take a look at it, also understanding people. That's really huge because when we're dealing with the public, we're dealing with people from all walks of life, different parts of life. And to be able to have that cultural diversity makes you so much more well rounded. And
Mhm.
then last but not least, the biggest thing, the relationships. The
Yeah.
relationships are really huge, not just the relationships with your team members or your salon owner, but the relationships that you build with guests and people that you know. I mean, that is priceless all alone. And the one
Mhm.
thing that we want to understand is that people don't invest in services, they invest in relationships and stories. So, yeah,
Mhm.
so that's really huge. So,
Yeah.
and I never thought about it that way until someone had presented to me that way. And I'm like, yeah, well, I am doing geometry. Yeah, I am
Yeah.
doing some chemistry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am doing business principles and
Yeah.
and marketing. That's
Yes.
another great thing. So you look at social media, we're actually marketing ourselves through
Yeah.
social media, showcasing our skills and letting everyone know or letting the general public know, hey, we're relevant. Here's what I am. Here's what I have to offer.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, absolutely. And I'm so thankful. And I think like you are the perfect person to talk about all of this. I'm so thankful that we had this time
Oh
because
my gosh.
your
Thank you.
story is so positive and so
Thank you.
great. And I love like everything that you've accomplished in this industry. You should be so very proud of. But I do also want you to be that example for someone that's
Yes.
listening that maybe is like,
Yes.
well, is beauty school for me? Or how do I take the next step? I mean, I think the idea that like you trust your gut and when those opportunities are there, you will know when it's right, when it's time to move on, when it's time to leave.
Yes.
Because look at the life that you have because of that
Beautiful.
one conversation, because you went to that one place and she said, I feel like
Yes.
that's so important to share. And so obviously all of the things that you've accomplished and how successful you are is so amazing. And I'm so thankful we were able to talk about that. But I think your story of taking that chance on yourself and being like, I know this feels weird and it doesn't feel right, but I know this is where I'm supposed to be is
Yes.
such a feeling of like just knowing that that turns out okay,
Yes.
and there are times
Yes.
that like you're able to make that move to make the life that you want to have. Like I don't know if you feel this way, but I sometimes feel like I'm like, no, I always knew this was I always knew that we were going to have these opportunities. It's crazy when it happens and when you're in those rooms, you're in those places, but it's almost like I kind of feel like I knew that that's how big we could make this little thing.
Yes.
Do you feel that way?
I always had this burning desire to reach for the stars
Yeah.
and do so much more. Sometimes my um, learning leaders or cosmetology instructors, sometimes your dreams can get a little yielded and or redirected. Oh, well, you're thinking too much too fast. You need to slow down and you need to focus here,
Mm-hmm.
which is right. Get your state board out the way first
Yeah.
and get your license, become a licensed professional, then think about all the other things. But however, you still can have your dreams and hold on to it. And that's something that will definitely keep you engaged and motivated and look forward to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Get your license. Make sure you go to state board. And once you go to state board and have your cosmetology license, then come back to the school. I don't know what it is in the state of Tennessee, but do the 800 or 1,000 hours and get your instructor's license. Have both, because the great thing about it,
Mm-hmm.
you can go anywhere in the world with those two licenses,
Yeah.
and that way you can have a career. Our industry is not a job. A job is like a flat tire. It's no growth, no career path there. But when you're talking about a career in the beauty industry, it has wings. I mean, you can fly. And for me, and there's a host of others, I'm a prime example. I never thought it would happen. Didn't think so. You just kept wondering when it was going to happen because it wasn't happening. You says, well, Zondi's giving up now. I've been thinking about it this long. And all of a sudden, one day,
Yep.
there it is. The sky just opened up and everything just happened. So,
Yeah, it truly is
you
like
just gotta
how it
believe. You just
goes.
believe.
Yeah, and in yourself, and like just making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to allow you to dream. Because even if you
Yes.
don't, like I think it's important, and we operate differently just by having that. So I'm so thankful that
Well,
you were
thank you
able
so
to take
much.
time with me
Well, thank
today, and
you.
thank you
Oh,
for
thank you so
sharing
much
your
for having
story.
me.
But I
Yes.
do want to ask,
Yeah,
where can
please.
we follow you? Because I know our listeners are going to want to follow this path now. So where can
Yes.
we follow you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. That's at Aubrey, Aubrey underscore Harley, Harley underscore pro. Definitely follow me. The biggest thing on my social media is inspiration, motivation, and education. It's all about that connection. So please reach out if there's anything I can do to help build that bridge to success. Any piece of information or intel I can share, I am here for the asking. The great thing about I can say about myself, I want more for others than they want for themselves. That's just my biggest thing when it comes to my passion. So thank you
Yeah.
for allowing me to share that.
Well, you can definitely see that online. It comes through for sure. So make sure you follow Aubrey and make sure you follow us at Beauty School Bobbi. Check out our episodes. Make sure you give us 5-star review if you're listening to this podcast, and make sure you catch Beauty School Bobbi on Beauty and Style Network. Bye, guys.